Hi there. Happy day 3 to you. Today's a strength day, strength focus day. So our workout that we're going to do after our warm up is going to be a little more strengthy. So hope you brought your strength base. If you didn't, maybe we'll find it before we're done. But let's get moving. So we're going to do our daily dose, and I'm going to do things a little differently today, just to move. To prep my body for the way I'm going to want to move my workout. I'm going to go a little slower and a little squeezier. So let's do that together. We'll put some time on. I'm just going to put a minute on for our sets today. We'll start with hinges. Just body weight is fine. Strong center, weight is in my heels. Sit my butt back. And squeeze my glutes all the way up and put some strength. I'm going to reach my arms back as I sit back. And then come up. Again, I'm trying to reach back. I'm using my scap, so I'm opening my shoulders and my chest up as I sit back. And then let's add reaching overhead. So this is going to require a little bit more effort from your upper body to keep your spine line straight. So both arms reach overhead. Try to reach hands and butt away from each other. There we go, right on time. Come on down to mountain and valley. Remember to dig your feet in and use your legs and your hips to pull yourself back up into mountain. I'm going to add some dips. You can do so with your knees on the ground as well. And then back up to your feet, rolling squat. Feet underneath hips, standing tall, arms sweep back, and then sit down, don't bend down. So your gaze will look forward throughout this. Shake that off. So down to rolls. Roll back, cross your legs, and come up into a lunge. Eagle squat. Back to your feet. The eagle squat feet are going to be about shoulder width apart. So not hip width, shoulder width. Toes pointing slightly outward. And then arms sweep back from the scaps. Stick your butt out and hinge first. And then slowly drop down in between your feet, sweeping your wings around in front of you to help counterbalance your bottom position. And then slowly come out. Good. Hang. So remember, you can hang from a wall, hands on the wall, and then drop yourself down. You got to lean into your hands to get a little traction. It can be done on the floor here too. It's like what they call in yoga child's pose. But best hang of all is to dangle from something so you can suspend yourself. I'm just going to roll side to side. I have a set of rings that will be my go-to. They're off camera, so I have a little setup right here. Pivot lunge. Again, back to your feet. Today we're going to try to stay low. So if you go double wide in your squat stance, feet can still point out and then sit down in between into a horse stance. And we're going to stay low and pivot into the lunge. Weight can stay in the heel here or become more full foot. If you need it out of your knees, in your heels. If you want it in your knees, you want to train your knee and put it more in the toes. Good. And then finally, straight arm swing. So today, I'm going to bring a little light weight along with me. Again, you can just make a loose fist and turn your circles. If I do this with a weight, same movement. The weight adds a little bit more momentum and traction. Again, it's not about moving the weight. When you add weight to a movement like this that has a lot of momentum, it's about controlling the momentum. You got two directions. We'll switch arms. All right, so let's talk about our workout today. We got 3 movements. Squatting is going to be our focus. And we'll talk about different ways of holding the bell, including the one that I have listed here as Boulder Squat. Then we're going to do a hanging leg lift. I'll give you floor options for that as well if you don't have something set up to hang. If you don't have something set up to hang, get something set up to hang. If you want to have a complete movement diet at your home, you need something to suspend from. Critical piece of the movement diet. And then last one, we're going to do a get up, sit up. So it's just I'll show you. Let's start with squatting though. So grab a light weight. And I'm going to squat with a squat block today, which means something underneath my heels. A lot of times lifting shoes do this for us. You can also roll up a towel or roll up a sweatshirt or something to make a squat block. But truly the best are, this is just a piece of 1x, so it's 3/4 of an inch of a lift. And if you need more lift, you can get a full 2x4. It's twice as big, 1.5 inches. So I'm going to take a weight here in the boulder hold. Get a little closer. Boulder hold means I'm going to hold the kettlebell like it's a rock. So I'm going to put my palms on the belly of the bell and have most of the weight sit into my palms. So if I turn sideways here, you'll see that I'm putting structure underneath the weight. I keep my arms in close. I don't shrug up and carry it in my traps. I just let the bell settle down, and I keep my arms in close to me here. So this is what we call a boulder hold. I put my thumbs through the window here of the handle, but that's just a backup in case a hand slips. Then I won't drop it. So if I were just holding it this way and the hand slips, then we get some trouble. So it's just a little bit in the window. I'm not just dumping this into my thumbs. So I'm not just resting it on my thumbs. I'm resting it in the palm of my hand. So that's my preferred two-handed one bell hold, the boulder hold. There are others. You see sometimes this. Let's call this a squeeze hold. So here I'm holding by the horns on the of the handle, but I'm also squeezing my forearms together to hold it. Also, great hold. It's a nice training variant. It will make it harder to stay out of your traps. You have to work harder for that. It'll also be limited by how much you can hold in that position. So I can hold a little bit more with a boulder than I can squeezing it together. You'll also see sort of a two-handed bottom up. Also great variant. Again, I have a little bit less structure underneath it. So when I'm holding like this, again, it's going to be the carry that's going to be most limited, but totally fine to do. And if you have one that you've done 100 times and you're super comfortable with it and it feels uncomfortable to change, I'm not going to make it change. Let's do a couple reps together. Nice and slow. Keep tension in your center as you drop down. Only go down as deep as you feel comfortable. The heavier it gets, the more active I like to be with my squats. Squatting is a very tough pattern, always has been. For me, I've gotten obviously a lot better at it by teaching it and practicing it for so long. But it's still, my body is not built for super heavy, super deep squatting. Limbs for days and all kinds of leverage that doesn't help me in this movement. But it's still a great movement. So this is one of those movements that not my favorite, not my best. But I train it very, very hard because it's a very important movement for my body and for most bodies. So that's going to be our boulder squat. I didn't talk about other holds like rack holds or double rack holds. That'll come down the road, but there are other ways of carrying the bell. And if you know those ways of carrying your bell, you're welcome to swap those if you prefer. Hanging leg lift. So I'm gonna hang from something, squeeze my knees together as best as I can, and then I'm gonna pick up my knees as high as I can into a tuck. So this is a tough spot for me because I'm very long and my ceiling is not. So I can't have my legs go all the way down. So my preference would be to start from a full hang and then bring my legs around and up into a hanging leg lift. That's hard for me to do down here. So I'll just do my best. I will probably, when I do my workout with you, use a little bit higher hanging positions. You won't be able to see me, but you'll know what I'm doing. On the ground though, we can just do a floor tuck. So it starts with hands supporting. I'm gonna tuck my legs in here and then reach out as far as I feel comfortable. Pull them in, tuck, nice and strong, and then reach them out nice and strong. So don't need to jam these out. When we're working on strength, slow is strong. So even if reps aren't that high, you don't get, especially for something like this, a real like bracing and center line and core movement, don't try to get your intensity by jamming it out really fast. Instead, slow things down. Slower is stronger here. And that way you can control all your angles as well. So use a lot more strength rather than just using a couple of big muscles to throw your legs in and out. You can escalate that by coming down to elbows and get yourself a little bit lower. So I'm sorry, from elbows, I also want to try to come back up and meet my knees, or we can come all the way down to a hollow body and then back up. Sort of the final. Here too, this one is one that's really tempting to just kind of turn into half of a roll. You want to control all of your lines, holding strength here, and then pulling up, squeezing out the top. So slow and squeezy as you can make them. And then our last one, get up, sit up. Let's do this without a weight first. But then the intention is to do this with a weight. I'll start on the ground, holding the weight. So I'm supporting the weight above my body. And then the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to roll over to the side. So I'm going to use my side line here rather than my center line like we did in the last one. And here I'm going to try to work my way up. And we're just going to finish in kind of a close side sit position with the weight up overhead. As I come back down, again, I want to use the sideline as best as I am able. My hand here is here for assistance, and then I'll roll myself back down. On the other side, hand up, roll. So this hand is out about 45. I'm rolling to that arm. Strong, strong sideline, and then up to that side sit. So if I do this with a weight, looks like this. Now, a little hint, whenever you're doing a weighted get up like this, get up means transitioning while carrying weight, supporting a weight overhead. Watch what I do with my weight. I'm not going to leave my weight back here and then try to bring my body up. I need the weight to lead me. So what that means is, as I come up, I'm going to use my lats, and I'm going to try to reach the weight in front of me so my center of mass is more forward. And this is going to help me come up. If I keep this weight back, it's just going to throw me back. So keep the weight moving in front of you. Let the weight lead you up. All right, I think it's time to put some time on, get our strength base on. So again, I'm going to put 12 minutes on. I'm going to shoot for 2 or 3 rounds. We'll see how I go. On your last round, you're starring the Boulder Squat, so that's the one to bring the most intensity and attention to. If you don't have different weights to pick up, the way you can make things more intense is to slow things down. Of course, you can add reps too, but don't add fast reps. Get slower, control, especially your downward. We didn't talk about pause reps or anything like that, but you can really slow down and make a rhythm for each rep with pauses. But just go slow. That's the key. Just go slow. Slow is strong. All right, let's find some time. Time on. So first one, Boulder Squat. And give yourself a little rest at the top by bringing your arms in and creating a little structure. I can actually touch the handle here just below my clavicle on my ribs to give myself my arms a little rest from the carry. As I come down, my arms will come off my body because my body is creating an angle, but as I come up, everything can come back together. Good. So hanging leg lift is next. I'm just going to make a little space for me so I can use my taller or hauler high board here. Now I can let my legs fully dangle. So I'm going to try to keep my knees together as best as I am able. Who made 10 of those? All right. Get up, sit up. So 5 and 5. I'm going to do my weak side first. That's my left side. Whenever you're switching up, any kind of get up, absolutely you can wrestle the bell across your body to do it. Or I think the more fun way to do it is do a little butt spin. Change your direction and then re-engage the bell. Or whatever weight you got. I'm really trying to use here my sideline. So transverse and obliques are where you'll most feel it. But think about using the sideline of your body rather than trying to come straight up. Roll off to the side. And if you notice, I prefer to speak about muscles in terms of lines that connect versus individual muscles. Sometimes getting too deep in the weeds and getting too specific makes you lose sight of what you're actually doing. And you get totally focused about, some muscle you heard from a trainer or a PT or something you had to train or fix at some point. So don't get caught up in muscles. Movement matters most. And most movements, muscles are working together. And so we'll call up lines like sideline, center line. I'm taking a little rest before I start my squats. I'm not avoiding them. I'm just resting. Anyway, center line, your sidelines, your upper cross, front and back, your posterior chain, back of the legs, and anterior chain. Those are the 5 primary. As soon as you start twisting, things get funkier, but we don't need to name all of those. Twisting and coiling and pivoting and all of those kinds of things. They have their own lines, and each movement has its own sequence that you'll get to know the more you practice it. All right, I think we can squat again. All right, hanging leg lift. You may already have noticed that with any front squat, there's an awful lot of core action required of it. Front squat is best thought of not as a lower body exercise, but as a whole body exercise. All squats really are, but front squat in particular, because you really have to focus on bracing to keep your line up and keep the weight on top of you rather than having it come out in front of you or falling down, curling you over. So it takes a lot of upper body strength to keep that position and carry the weight while your legs move it up and down. All right, hanging leg lifts. We've got 10 of them. And then lastly, get up, sit up. I'm going to try picking up the weight. Again, if you don't have another weight, just try to go slow, especially through the hard zone, the angles where you're halfway between the floor and seated. So you notice my strength face came out. When you're working on strength, it is a good indicator that you're working on strength is if your strength face comes out. If you can do all of your reps and you don't create enough tension to distort your face a little bit, it might be an indicator that you're not working hard enough to challenge yourself. All right, shake that out. Hanging leg lifts. I'm sorry, okay, go back to squats. So we just have 2 minutes left here, but I say we complete this third round, even if it takes a little bit past the beep. Again, another goal is not to let our lives be ruled by beeps. Squats on. So I'm gonna use the same weight. That was nice and challenging for me today. So I am going to use the same weight, but on my last few reps, I'm going to try to go a lot slower. Here comes number 9. And number 10. So on those last ones, on the way down, I really focused on bracing my center, drawing my abs in, front and sides, and creating a lot of tension as I sank down into my squat pocket. And then on the way up, I tried to hold on to that brace, but then I concentrated on my feet. Not my muscles, my feet, because that's where the movement starts. Pushing my feet into the ground, pushing the ground away to bring my body back up. All right, hanging leg lifts. And then finally, our get up, sit up. Oh, did it. Here's a fist bump. Time for a sip of some Bofferding, fine Luxembourgish beer. So we did some strength today. We're going to do a finisher. That's going to be a little more fluid. We're going to use that pivot lunge. And again, another example of how the same movement can be used for different purposes. It isn't just for its own purpose, or one purpose, I should say. So we're going to use that pivot lunge, but we're going to be a little more fluid and a little bit more quick with it after our slow and squeezy workout. So I'm going to put a minute and a half on, and we're going to do pivot lunges for a minute and a half. This is our finisher. So 10 seconds on. I'm going to start nice and wide. And I'm going to start tall here as well. So I'm going to let my arms whip out as I switch from side to side. And then to increase the challenge, I can open up my stance a little wider. I can go a little deeper. Good. Lose your balance. That's a good thing. Remember, whenever you're thinking about balance, losing and catching your balance is the best way to train it. Creating shapes that you can perfect doesn't push your balance boundaries, especially as your muscles fatigue after a workout. It's going to get harder and harder to rely on them to stabilize positions. Again, great time to work on some balance. Done. Big exhale. You can also take an easy twist here. And then start working on focusing on exhales and breathing out for your cool down. Again, a good time to turn the lights down if you have quick access. But to finish, we're going to take that side sit position that we came up into in our to cool down that we came up into in our get up setup. Sorry, I just worked out. And I'm going to do a little fold toward this top leg or the front leg. And then I'm going to use my hands to assist, but I'll transition into a frog. You can say hi to my hips and frog, and then pull the other leg through, and then side sit. So we'll get inside and outside lines of the hip. Again, as you're cooling down, your breath fills your belly. And your exhales pour out. You're no longer trying to hold tension in your center. Force breath out, force breath in. All right, we did it. Strength day. So I would record, for progression purposes, I would record my Boulder Squat. So I did a set with a 16 and then 2 sets with a 24. And I might make a note that I went slow on my last 2 reps of my last set, my 3rd set. But I would want to have that for next week when I repeat my strength workout. So I at least know what I did the week prior. So indefinite progression is impossible. You can't progress all the time, every week, week in, week out. There will be days when you just don't feel like it. You feel a little rough. You may surprise yourself once you start the workout that you may feel like you have a lot more energy than you walked into it feeling. I don't know how many times I've heard folks say that they just didn't feel, motivated to work out. But the motivation doesn't come before. It comes after. So you feel all the effects from doing the thing. You don't wait to feel energized to have a great workout. Movement matters most. So that means that just doing it doing the movements is going to help your training response, even if you're not picking up the same weights you picked up last week, or you're keeping it exactly the same. Another form of progression is do the same workout and have it feel a little easier than it did the last time you did that workout. That's progression too. It doesn't always have to be quantitative. A lot of times the progression is qualitative, not quantitative, even though it's the numbers that we focus on. Anyway, that's what I would record. Just like on Power Day, I would record my swings, the weights I did for my swing sets, and if I added reps at the end. Obviously, with a power movement, you don't work on going super slow for your final reps. You work on adding reps or adding weight. But we have another lever that we can pull on strength days in terms of spending more time under tension. You can look that up if you haven't heard that term before. Thank you. Thank you for joining me on day three of our foundations. There'll be more tomorrow. So come back and I'll see you soon.